Live from Liquid Studio Group, it's 3 Men and a Mic with your host, Joe Barron, Gene Belmontes, and the Honorable Javier Montemayor, our closer. 3 minds, 1 mic, 0 filter. Sit back, relax, and enjoy 3 Men and a Mic.
Welcome back to episode 3 of 3 Men and a Mic. This is our last pre-recorded show. We go live in March 10th. And at that point, the format will change a little bit. We're going to have a call queue, and we'll have all our segments in order. We've kind of worked out most of the technology issues already, and I think we're ready to go. We've got a producer friend of ours out of San Antonio who gave us some great tips. Shout out to Fred Diaz. Thank you, Fred, for some of the tips on putting this together, and we're going to continue to add some technology fixes to the glitches, but we'll get it right, and come the 10th of March, the show will be live. So, guys, what a week, right?
What a week.
What a week.
It's been interesting. So early voting has started.
Right.
The numbers are down, though, but hopefully they pick back up, and there's just a lot of activity. You see Del Mar, you see Cigarroa, you see downtown, and there's a lot of good energy. So if you haven't gotten a chance to vote, I encourage everyone to go and exercise your voice. It's important. These are some good elections coming around.
Agreed. Joe?
I went out there yesterday.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of people voting at the fireman's place.
Yeah, at the fire administration building right across St. Patrick's.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because the energy's there. You can see it.
Yeah.
But it's not translating into the numbers.
Correct.
There were about 2,600 votes in the first day for the Democrats, about 330 for the Republicans. Yesterday was about the same, about 2,100 and 300. So the numbers haven't really begun to show the energy that is felt out on the street. You see all the electioneering that's going on and campaigns, but interesting.
But we're also in the middle of Washington celebration, right? So there's a lot of people really busy with all of that, carnivals and parades today and stuff. So hopefully once this passes, people will get out there and vote.
Well, it's been fueled. You got the county judges race. You got about 4 candidates there. You've got the district judge, the 111th district court race. You got two candidates there. You've got county treasurer. You've got some county commissioner races. They're all contested.
Yep.
They're all contested.
All contested races.
It's those are important elections. Those are the ones who are making our passing our policies, passing our ordinances, passing our laws in our community, and enforcing the laws. And they're the face of Laredo, the face of Webb County. So it's important that you go out and exercise your voice, because if you don't, then you really don't have it. You don't have the right to complain if you're not participating in the electoral process.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely.
And there's 140 some odd thousand registered voters in Laredo, Webb County, and right now it's 3-4% tops that's come out. I mean, that's about it. And so I've often been critical of the party chairs and others that have these great registration drives, but then they really fall short on the get out the vote and getting folks to come out and vote for their candidates. But Joe, I wanted to give a little context to something you said, because we have viewers in Utah and in Canada and Georgia and places outside of Laredo, and of course this show is built for them as well. But you mentioned the George Washington birthday celebration. Not everybody knows why that's such a big deal in Laredo.
I think we're the only city that does this.
That's right.
We're the only one that celebrates George Washington.
We're in our 130 some odd year of celebrating George Washington's birthday.
Yeah.
And it comes complete with a month-long celebration of everything from debutantes to carnivals, parades, the Mr. South Texas. There's just so much.
The Abrazo.
The Abrazo, it's a big international ceremony.
Yeah.
And we have the 10th largest parade in the United States is here in Laredo, Texas with this one.
Yeah.
The Anheuser-Busch had been typically their sponsor.
Yeah, it's been recognized nationwide. We've had our debutantes, our representatives of the different organizations actually go to the White House and go and represent Laredo and extend the invitation. And it's a big party. We have the air shows, we have the carnivals, we've got the parades, you've got the Jalapeno Festival, a bunch of concerts. It's just a huge party for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and so we've get, I can imagine the influx of visitors that we get into Laredo, and it's a very impressive operation.
The debutantes. My nephew Mikey's escorting someone tomorrow.
Oh, is that right? Congratulations.
We'll
congratulations. That's awesome.
I heard those dresses are like super expensive, like
30, 40, like 50,000. Yeah. It's incredible, right? Yeah. It's an amazing thing. Vital Med had their car show. That's one of the newer features of the WBCA's, the car show, antique cars. If you're a car enthusiast, that's one of
pipes and stripes.
Pipes and
stripes.
Yeah. Car show. So great events. And today's hot topic is going to be public corruption. That's kind of what we had talked about the last time we had our show, and we were hoping to get a guest that could speak eloquently to that issue, and we were fortunate to have somebody with us today who will be joining us after the break. David Almaraz, who's a former assistant district attorney, and assistant U.S. attorney, practicing criminal law now. He's one of the super lawyers in Texas, a criminal defense lawyer extraordinaire. He'll be joining us shortly to discuss public corruption and how that all works, and what that looks like, and why some of those cases take so long. I don't know, we've seen a couple of them in our neighborhood, but it's not unique to Laredo, right?
That's right.
And we've seen it everywhere. Texas, Washington, you name it.
Everywhere. All over the place. At every different level of government, whether it's national, state, local government. We have FBI investigations. We've got state and local investigations all over the place. And you see them on the news. You see public officials. You see contractors. You see all sorts of parties, getting involved in these types of scandals. And I can tell you that I've, as a criminal defense lawyer, I've handled a handful of these cases. Mr. Almaraz is certainly much more experienced in this realm, but it shakes the fabric of the community when this happens. Sure. When there's public corruption, and it dissolves the trust that the community has in their elected officials, and as it is, people are generally skeptical of government, and when these things happen, it deteriorates it more and more and more, and it's hard to be a public official in these times, because people throw it out as just a term, a term of art, and there's literally a lot of people who think, well, you're in politics, you got to be corrupt, and so that. But Joe and I were talking earlier, about the difference of not only the difference between public corruption and another term of the appearance of impropriety, and so it's important to distinguish those terms.
Sure.
And it's not necessarily just government. You see it in nonprofits. You see it in religion. You see it, like, it's not just politicians. Right. It's everywhere.
It's part of the human condition, I would think. I think that's just and there's a saying out there that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things that we all talked about, because we see it as prevalent in South Texas for some reason, or at least we think, because that's the news we're fed. But it happens just about everywhere. And so we thought it'd be a great topic for our community to listen in on and jump in and engage with us on it. This, like I said, this is our last pre-recorded show. Our next show will be live, and we'll have an opportunity for you to call in, ask your questions, get on social media, and pose your questions through Facebook or YouTube, and or email us those questions ahead of time so that we can have them ready for the discussion. So we're going to take a short break and be right back with our guest, David Almaraz, criminal defense attorney extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
Life is full of great moments, special moments, shared with friends, family, and loved ones. But for some, pain deprives us from fully enjoying these moments. If chronic pain is keeping you from fully enjoying life, there is hope. Hi, I'm Dr. Marta Martinez. At Advanced Spine Pain Solutions, we're dedicated to treating our patients with the most advanced and compassionate care possible. Visit us for an evaluation and let our experienced staff help you get back to living a pain-free life.
And we're back to the show. We're joined now by David Almaraz, counselor. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you making the time to join our little show and hopefully educate us on this issue of public corruption, what that looks like, and all the things that it entails. I wanted to have Carla play a couple clips of some of the headlines that we've been seeing lately out there. Carla, read some clips real quick. And so you can see in these headlines that it is something that's not just unique to Laredo, counselor, but we're seeing it in places like in Austin and in Crest City and other places across the state. But this happens just about everywhere, does it not? Or is this something unique to South Texas, an old George Parr thing?
Public corruption has been around since laws were finally passed. And you can go back to Egypt. You can go back to Samaria 5,000 years ago. There's always been public corruption. Kissinger said power is the best aphrodisiac. So why do people run for office? It's the power, it's the prestige. Unfortunately, people tend to think, well, if somebody's in power, maybe if I give him a little bit of money, he'll go my way. And I've always been very concerned, not just here, but everywhere, political campaigns. If I give a candidate, $50,000 for his campaign, and I then go before him, what do I expect? If he rules against me, some people joke, well, what the hell did I pay you for?
Well, true.
Away, yeah.
But
right?
unfortunately,
That's
that's the way the system is. And now, ever since Citizens United, where you can give millions to a candidate and nobody knows who gave it.
This is through a PAC, right? It doesn't
Yes.
necessarily go to the candidate. It goes to a big PAC.
Exactly.
And the PAC chooses the candidates it's going to disperse it
Exactly.
to. Perfect.
What's bothered me, and I've been practicing for almost 50 years, we always trusted the Supreme Court to do the right thing. Well, unfortunately, the Supreme Court, I think, does not follow the law like they should and does not rule on the law. And there's at least 2 or 3 justices that are still there that it's been proven they've taken gifts, they've given vacations, and yet they're there.
Influenced.
Yes, yes. And these are people that get gifts from people that are before the Supreme Court.
So then that
So you've always had public corruption.
Sure. And so that begs that question that Javi and Joe and I have been asking is, what does public corruption look like, and why does it take so long to one, prosecute these things and have an outcome? We see them, we all, right? You've heard somebody say, oh, yeah, I know that guy, he's corrupt.
Yeah.
But there's no real evidence for that. It's just a term thrown out. But then when the FBI does show up and it does raid and take computers and bring somebody in for questioning, what happens then? Why is that process sometimes eons, or nothing happens? And we've seen that.
I can tell you from my experience, and I was an assistant U.S. attorney back in the early 80s. It was just myself, the lone AUSA, Judge Kazin by himself. And back then, the agents would have a case, the FBI, and they'd bring me a case. And they said, we think we have a pretty good case. So I'd say, well, let's take it to the grand jury. The grand jury would look at it. If they thought there was enough, they would indict. Never did I ever ask, well, is he a Democrat or a Republican? Or what's he done for us lately? No. Politics never got into the decision.
Into the equation.
But unfortunately, today it's happening on a daily basis.
Sure.
What they call the weaponization.
Right.
Let's indict somebody who was investigating the previous administration.
Yeah, we saw one of those cases where a whistleblower was actually being attacked.
Well,
Paxton.
even worse, and everybody's read, I hope, about the people that were actually investigating the January 6th demonstrators,
Right.
the riots. Of course, they were all pardoned on day one. And now let's go after the prosecutors
Right.
who were working on those cases, the FBI agents who are working on those cases. And that causes people to just have complete distrust of the law, the rule of law.
And Javi, you said that earlier, that really shakes the foundation of our trust in our system of government, not just at the national level, right?
Yeah, and so a lot of people think that in a daily occurrence, for example, I'm a businessman. I want to apply for a contract with a government entity, the city, and I'm competing against 3 or 4 other businessmen, and a lot of times, you pay a little money, get a little influence, perhaps you win their vote, and it starts to deteriorate. The other 3 people who are just as qualified may never be able to break into that system because they may not have the money or they may not have that influence, and so it deteriorates the trust that you have. It's not a matter of who's the best qualified. It becomes a matter of who can pay more. There's greed involved. There's money exchanged. That's your standard bribery case, your public corruption, when you buy the vote of the public official, and it just deteriorates the trust that people have in the system itself. I mean,
So I'm going to say something real quick, right? So when we worked last administration, we were awarded money to do the work, to help migrants get home.
You said, I think in the last show, something like $6 million contract, kind of large to transport.
No, to help them with food and,
okay.
and just basic necessities. And we were asked by our federal government to help. We were asked by our city to help. New administration comes in, we get a letter telling us that the job we did was illegal. To stop. So it comes down to now, instead of it being, same process or different process, but different administration, it wasn't illegal because we were being asked to do it.
Right.
By previous administration.
Sure.
Now it's looked as illegal.
Another problem, I agree with it. Another problem, and Javi can agree with me, the problem in the last 20, 30, 40 years is that right now I would say 50% of the laws, the federal laws on the books, didn't exist 40 years ago. The famous money laundering, the famous carrying cash more than $10,000. They'll take it away from you.
Right.
And so the problem, we can talk about public corruption, but we also have to talk about people that are not elected. Police officers.
right.
I have represented, unfortunately, many DPS, Border Patrol, sheriff's officers that fall prey to somebody that gives them a little money to help whatever
their situation may
guide a
be.
load or something.
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And what is the problem? It's greed. Well, I'm not being paid enough, and I could always use an extra 10 or 20,000. But the problem right now is this war on drugs that failed miserably, to where it is a $50 to $80 billion a year
Business.
operation,
It's an industry.
both in Mexico and here. So you could say, and I could tell the judge, well, why don't we just make marijuana? Let's start with marijuana. Let's make it legal and tax it, which a lot of people have suggested. But most people are going to say, no, we're not going to do that because it's a gateway to other drugs. Well, anyway, the problem is now you have, and I've told people, if I go to San Antonio, half of the cars on the road are law enforcement. and they're not marked. They're in big old pickup trucks. They're in
SUVs.
Suburbans.
Tahoe.
They will stop every car that they think looks suspicious. No probable cause. And so what they do is they'll say, well, you were doing 2 miles an hour over. Do you have any drugs? No. Do you have any money? No. Do you have any guns? No. Well, then you don't mind if we check. Pop your trunk. A lot of times they do find cash. It can be as little as $2,000. It can be as much as $100,000. So they'll take it. Sometimes they give you a receipt. Sometimes they don't.
Right.
Right.
And so if they do give you a receipt, they say, if you want to ask for your money back, there's 10 pages that you have to fill out and tell us what the money was for, where it was going, etc.
How you got it.
Most people say forget about it. What happens at the end of the year? Let's see these cops that seized all this money get $1 million. If they don't ask for it back, they split it half with the FBI and half with the local sheriff's
With the
office.
local agency.
That's why you see right now, you can go by the sheriff's office, you can go by the courthouse, brand new trucks that cost $60,000, $70,000, bought with seized
Seizure
funds.
funds.
Seized funds.
So I said to myself, so then it was dirty money until you got it. Now it's clean money. and so it's and again, these people, and the 99% of these folks are super honest and everything, but there's always going to be that 1 to 2%
Sure.
of people that can be bribed.
Of course. Of course.
And that's the sad thing, being a lawyer for the longest time and trying to defend the Constitution
Right.
and the Bill of Rights. The fact of the matter is that money corrupts.
Agreed.
Money corrupts,
Right.
and not only does it affect law enforcement, it affects judges,
Yeah.
it affects prosecutors,
Sure.
to where 1 or 2 of those guys are going to have a friend, maybe lives in Mexico. Oye, cuñado, un favor.
Right.
I know you're at the checkpoint in Hebronville, and you're a dog man. What about at midnight on a certain date, a big old tractor trailer, what if you just look the other way? Don't put your dog in it. Well, let me think about it. So it happens, they make it, let's try it again and again.
Again.
And
One
pretty
more
soon they're going to start showing the money they have. Get big old Harleys, get trips every month to Vegas,
Right.
get a nice house on Regency. And it's just money that corrupts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that is where public corruption comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's agreed.
Agree. And so then that begs the question, a couple things. And one of the reasons really I was hoping that you could kind of walk us through this. The FBI doesn't indict anybody. It's the U.S. Attorney's Office that
The
does
U.S.
that.
Attorney gets it and takes it to the grand
To
jury.
take to a grand jury. Grand
All
jury
the
makes-
FBI does
is investigate.
It investigates.
Right.
It gets information, takes it to the prosecutor and says, we think we got a good case here.
Right.
The prosecutor has to look at it. And the way it's now, it's different when I was there. Back then I made the decision, no, I don't think, I need more. But
Some
now the
discretion.
U.S. Attorney has to check with Houston. And sometimes Houston has to check with Washington.
Washington.
Oh, good Lord.
And they, especially if you're going to go against a public official
Agreed.
or
Yeah.
a lawyer or a doctor. And doctors get into this problem all
Sure.
the time.
Yeah.
Medicare, Medicaid.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Opioids.
You know,
and
hey, I
things.
can make a lot of money this way, right?
Sure.
To where there's phantom organizations. But the problem here is they bring me a case, I have to look at it, and now there's, 15, 20 AUSAs. But they have to check with their superior here in Laredo.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, and anybody can see, anybody that's been watching the news in the last year, the FBI is no longer an independent organization.
Right.
In fact, I just saw where the president put a big old picture of himself on the DOJ wall. It's like, this is my DOJ, and they're going to do what I want. So what do we expect from Kash Patel, from Pam Bondi?
Right.
And it's very frustrating to all of us that have been around for the longest time.
Agreed.
Because we as lawyers that have been here for a long, long time, we're saying we are losing confidence in the system.
Well, agreed.
Because do I really expect Pam Bondi to indict anybody that's close to the president? No. The Epstein case, really, are you going to indict anybody? No, we checked that out and there's nothing. Put it away.
Off it goes.
And in the old days, it was like the president couldn't get involved at all in any of those cases.
When did it change?
Well, electing him, first of all, that didn't help. And then the Supreme Court giving him complete immunity, do whatever you want, and nobody can do anything. Well, what could possibly go wrong?
Sure.
And that's what happened.
But they're not the only agency out there. Texas, for example, has the Texas Rangers. A lot of municipalities have public integrity units. Mm-hmm. And really, when we look at public corruption, it stems, I mean, it is, I mean, at every layer of government. It's happening at schools, it's happening at city government, county government, state governments, nonprofits. And those public integrity units that exist within the DA's office or within a Attorney General's office or the Texas Rangers, for example, do they face, I mean, are you seeing a trend that they're going in that same direction
Yes.
where they're being weaponized as well?
Yes, and you don't have to go too far. Our own governor,
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't like a certain verdict,
Mm-hmm.
he will pardon that guy, the guy that shot somebody in Austin.
Or the one on,
The ice
Some
cream-
get together.
The ice cream shop.
They went to trial. They found the guy guilty. Immediately, Abbott said, "I'm gonna pardon him." So it's a mini,
version of that.
yes. But again, I've never seen a governor in Texas like this one that we have take and just get into every case and says, "What do you mean students are walking out to protest?"
Right.
Attorney General, check it out. The Attorney General, who is impeached, who has a bunch of criminal charges against him that have been dismissed, he's already worried about kids protesting? Really?
And could be our next
And-
senator.
And if you don't do that, we're going to cut off your funds. Let's get rid of all the rainbow deals on the streets here in Laredo.
Yeah.
For gay pride or for defund the wall or lo que sea. And if you don't, I'm not giving you
I'm gonna
1.6 billion.
your transportation dollars.
So it's a bribe right there. It's like, it's the old mafia. Nice little city you have here.
right.
Or post the 10 Commandments in your classroom, or not.
Well, that's just something you guys are faced with
Sure.
right now. at
And
the school
if you
board.
don't, we're going to sanction you.
That's it.
And so,
That's it. And there has to be, and one of our candidates is saying there has to be a separation of church and state. Because what? Just because you post those 10 Commandments, does that mean everybody's going to follow them? What about the Hindus? What about the Jewish boys? What about the atheist kids?
Right.
They're nice. I mean, yeah. Well, I wish you wouldn't do them, but
Right.
the sad thing about it is, pay more attention to keeping guns out of the classroom.
Right. Well, those are two topics I think we're going to tackle at a different show. But let's
Yeah.
take a quick break, and we'll be right back with David Almaraz, criminal defense attorney, former U.S. Attorney and district attorney, where we talk about public corruption and continue that discussion. But we'll be right back.
Life is full of great moments, special moments, shared with friends, family, and loved ones. But for some, pain deprives us from fully enjoying these moments. If chronic pain is keeping you from fully enjoying life, there is hope. Hi, I'm Dr. Marta Martinez. At Advanced Spine Pain Solutions, we're dedicated to treating our patients with the most advanced and compassionate care possible. Visit us for an evaluation and let our experienced staff help you get back to living a pain-free life.
And so we're back from our commercial break with our guest, David Almaraz, as we talk about public corruption. And during the break, he said something I thought was hilarious. What was that?
Well, there was a jurist named Francis Bacon in England, and he got to be one of the highest judges in the land. And they found out he was taking money. He was being bribed for certain cases. And when they charged him, he said, wait a minute, I'm taking money from both sides, the plaintiff and the defendant. So that means I can be as fair as I want. Unless one only gave you 10,000, the other gave you 15, and entonces
there's an imbalance.
There's an imbalance.
You know, but no, that has been going on, like I said, for thousands of years. I mean, France, England, the United States, anybody in a position of power, be it city, county, national, they're going to be approached and they're going to be offered money. Now, will they take it? Will they not take it? You would hope they wouldn't.
Right.
But
Agreed.
unfortunately,
they do.
It's like I've told people, if you leave a wallet right here and just walk away, 5 people walk in, they see it. Is one of them going to grab it and put it in his pocket? You know, it's each person's.
Right.
Just like a politician.
Yeah.
It's like, I am not going to do it. 1, my religion. 2, my conscience, my morality. But somebody is going to say, why not? And that is where the system starts. Because why do I want to go before a judge that's going to hear my case that I know has been bought? That's horrible.
Very true.
Right away,
That's very true.
you don't have a fair trial.
Agreed.
There are a lot of politicians or public officials who put themselves out there for sale. You know,
Oh, yeah.
They just it's almost some type of arrogance that they have sometimes, and they, you know, they're available to the highest bidder.
It goes with a position.
Yeah.
Javi. It goes with a position, and you've seen it. I've seen it. We always like to say, a judge went to law school like the rest of us. Maybe wasn't making it. Runs for judge, wins. All of a sudden, they become very smart, very smart, and all of a sudden they don't have to pay for their meals anymore. And then nobody ever beats them in golf.
They get the biggest bucks during hunting season. You know.
Oh, you're invited to every ranch.
Sure.
That you and I would have to pay 10,000.
Yeah.
So it's a question of. I had a judge from Duval County tell me, and he loved hunting, and one time before a trial started, he said, "I'm going to have to tell you guys, this man invited me to go hunting." Well, hell, I'll invite you to go hunting on my ranch to even things out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story about my time on city council, and even to this day. Friends that I know in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, other places will call me and say, "Hey, listen, I'm thinking of doing this in Laredo, Texas, but I hear I've got to go down to the building department. I got to do this and I've got to do that." I said, "Yeah, here's all the rules." And I kind of walk them through that. So, well, you know, it's going to be built in so and so's district. Do I need to go see him? I said, "Yeah, I can pick up my phone and make a phone call for you." And his first question is, "What's that going to cost me?" And I always tell them, "Why would you ask that question?" He says, "Because in other places where I do business, it's going to cost me a campaign contribution or a night out on the town or something." And here I said, "No, nothing. Give me a few minutes. Hold on a second. Let me call and see if I can get you an appointment." And sure enough, I got an appointment for a couple of days later. The guy shows up, and he walks out here going, "I can't believe it. In such and such place, I would have had to pay $300, $400, $500 for that meeting. You got to be kidding."
Well, the problem also is growing up in Laredo almost all my life, we tend to look at Mexico and the corruption that everybody saw, the old mordida.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to go to Mexico when I was 5 years old, and some cop would stop you. "We're going to have to go into the comandancia." "Well, how much?" "Well, maybe $20. Okay. That was it.
Yeah.
So then people expected the same thing over here.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm sure Javi has been asked, and I've been asked, what does the judge want, like you're saying? Yeah. He wants a good trial. He wants a fair trial.
Sure.
Well, wait a minute. You mean, what if we gave him some money? Unfortunately, and I've heard it long, long time ago, some lawyers that shouldn't have been lawyers would say, "I'm going to charge you so much, plus so much for the judge." And that's horrendous. But it has been said.
Yeah.
So when an AUSA gets a case, presents it to the grand jury indicts, you try the cases. In your tenure as both a DA and AUSA. What's your success rate on convictions? I mean, is that a hard thing to get? Because you're, again, like you said, you're going after a public official who probably has a big following, and now with the advent of social media, you'll get all his defenders out there bashing the system, bashing the judge, bashing the prosecutors.
It's very simple. Any prosecutor, federal or state, should have at least a 90 to 95% conviction rate.
Yeah.
Right.
They're usually not going to take a case that they know they can lose. And it depends on their witnesses.
Right.
I listened to a debate between a guy that's running for judge, or two guys, and one said, "You dismissed 25 cases, sexual assault." And he wasn't given a chance to say, "Yeah, but my witnesses didn't want to testify."
Right.
So, and again, when somebody asks me, "What's your win-loss rate?" Well, you can't say anything like that. All you can say is, well, I had a guy that was accused of a horrible crime. At first, the DA wanted to give me 75 years, but after months and months of working it out, I got 5 years probation. To me, that's a win.
Sure. Yeah,
Absolutely.
agreed.
But he pled. So what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
then agreed. But
So to answer your question, the state or the government should win 90 to 95% of the time. When they lose, it's because somebody messed up, somebody didn't want to go testify, somebody was
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
so
And in the federal system, there's no more probation.
Right.
In the state, there is. You plead somebody, okay, give me 5 years probation, I'll take it. Give me 10 years probation, I'll take
I'll
it.
take it.
But in the federal system, you plead, you're going to get time. And if you go to trial and lose, you'll get more time.
got it. So going back to that last question, though, and I know Joe has a question he wants to ask, but before the show started, said usually when you get an indictment from the grand jury on the federal side, you pretty much got them dead to rights at that point. If you're saying 95, 90,
You should.
95, they've got them dead to
You
rights.
should.
You should.
You should. Unfortunately, what we're seeing, and I hate to keep going back to this administration,
Mhm.
the head executive says, I don't like this guy because he indicted me. Go against him. So he'll get some rookie prosecutor, do it. I ain't gonna do it. And you know what? I'm quitting. So they'll get somebody that just started, they indict, they lose the case. The judge throws it out.
Mhm.
Says, where'd you go to law school?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know how to present a grand jury indictment?
That recently happened with Comey.
Yes.
But at the same time, look, the investigating agency, the U.S. attorney, or the prosecutors, they normally work hand in hand. And a prosecutor should never lose the case because they have all the investigative resources. They're the ones who start the case, who, talk to all the witnesses, develop the crime scene, go and do the searches of the homes and confiscate computers and run their analytics on it. They build their case. And sometimes, and so the prosecution has what we call discretion. Typically, they should. The U.S. Attorney's Office or the federal government recently has become a little more strict on that, and they don't have as much discretion as they used to, at least not the local offices. That's why David was talking about they have to check with Houston, and Houston has to check with Washington, especially when it comes to, a congressman or a sheriff or some public official in a high position. They're a lot more sensitive about these cases, but you should never lose a case because you've got all the resources. You hold the cards. We don't come in as defense lawyers. You don't come in until after they're indicted. And there's a saying that you can indict a ham sandwich. And I used to be a prosecutor, and I could take a case before a grand jury, and I can almost guarantee you that you're probably going to get that case indicted. It's just myself and the grand jury. And so what the prosecution tells them is what they're going to use to approve or disapprove of that case.
You're talking public corruption.
Yeah.
For some reason, the FBI tends to love to go up and down the valley and start seeing who can we indict, sheriffs, cops. There was a group, a drug task force, that would raid someone's home, a drug dealer. They'd find $300,000 cash. They'd report $100,000, and they would split the rest amongst themselves. I had a client the same way who got caught in the Heavenville checkpoint. I said, okay, it says here you got caught, you had 300 pounds. Mienten, I had 500 pounds. What happened to the other two?
The other two.
The same thing with cash.
Right.
I've been able, and I'm sure Javi has been able to get money back.
Right.
They didn't tell the DA. We found 50,000. Oh, we kept it in our safe, and we were hoping that nobody would do anything about it. So that sort of thing. And one more thing, unfortunately, there are some officers that are going to lie to make their case. Right. I don't care what it is. I'm going to lie if I have to. I've had 2 cases in my career where they indicted him for alien smuggling. They said the aliens had said no. He told us to get in and hide. So I go and talk to the aliens with permission of the other lawyers. I said no. And they started crying. I said, what happened? So the agent said, you better say this. You better say that the guy told you to do that, or else you're going to be here for another year or 2. So the agent instructed them to lie, to commit perjury. So what I did, I went to the U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney. I said, you got a problem. You got a crooked agent.
Right.
And so when they heard that, what did they do? They dismissed it. But I said, that's fine. Thank you for dismissal. But go see if you can catch that guy. Because he's going to do it again.
Sure.
And again. And again.
Wow.
How many people are in jail right now, in prison, through perjured testimony?
It's a good question.
It happens.
Yeah. No, it does. It does. It happens quite frequently.
The ends justify the means, according to the police
But
officers.
in this case, we're kind of leaning towards that public oppression, that public, bad behavior that folks have. Recently, we had a case in San Antonio, or there is a case in San Antonio that's sparked the news, where a sitting judge, handcuffed a defense attorney to the witness box.
Speed limit.
Yeah, speed limit. And those kind of cases also are starting to see a rise of that, where you have officers taking advantage of the people they pull over, DAs taking advantage of defense attorneys and things that where there's pressure, especially if they maybe think the person's going to run against them later in a different case. Now they bring up a case or a ethics complaint, those kind of things.
When I heard that story, I immediately thought about a federal judge, and I'm not going to mention names. He's gone now. May he rest in peace. Federal judge would come up here. If you got to the courtroom 5 minutes late, he would put you in the jury box, the penalty box, right?
Time out.
And make you sit there for a half an hour. He made one of the local prosecutors go to the jail with everybody else, the holding tank. I had a case with him in Brownsville, and I had a client, and there was like 6 or 7 defendants, and so they were making deals at the last second. So I said, and the guy said, "Hey, I want to take that deal." I said, "Let's go outside." We go outside of the hall, and as we're talking, the judge walks in, the same judge, and looks around, and says, "Okay, let's break for lunch. He'll come back at 1:30. So we walked in, and everybody's, "Oh, they just broke." So my client and I were going to go to lunch. The marshal says, "David, come on." So the judge says, "Where were you?" I said, "I was outside talking to my client." No. Jury box. It was 12 already. I had to sit there for like 30 minutes. And he got the biggest kick out of it. At least he didn't handcuff me.
Yeah.
But he deprived me of my liberty.
Absolutely.
And my client. Get rid of it because especially some federal judges think they're God.
And at what point do those folks get prosecuted or sanctioned? We're seeing, again, the rise of the weaponization of the judicial system, whether it's through the DOJ on that side or the courts, the activist judges. At what point do these folks face any repercussions for their actions?
Very rarely.
Very rare.
And I'll tell you right now with the Supreme Court, because when they started, and there was 1 or 2 congressmen says, "Let's bring this judge to ask him about these trips and this money he's getting." And they said, no, those Republicans said, "No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're going against conservative judges." No, we're going against crooked judges. But the question here becomes, and I looked it up, every judge in the United States, starting from JP to state district judge to county court law, has ethical rules they have to follow.
Sure.
And if you go and you open up the Texas Bar Journal, you'll see judicial either a slap on the wrist or we suspended this judge. Everybody except Supreme Court justices. They police themselves. So there's no ethical guidelines for justices.
There's no recourse.
I've been before the State Judicial Conduct Committee.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're tough. I represented a JP from Webb County who was no longer on the bench, but and it was, same type of allegations regarding, influence, reducing bonds in exchange for money. And although he was never charged, he was never indicted. There certainly was an investigation by the State Judicial Committee, and it's
in that
tough.
judge's defense, you don't have to be a lawyer to be a JP.
Right.
It's true.
Anybody off the street can run for JP.
Right.
And that's usually what we run into. So they don't know, they should know the ethical rules.
At
what
the
you
very
can
least.
do, what you can't do. And some of those judges really take advantage of it. They'll sell goodies in their court, in their chambers.
Yeah.
But more and more judges are getting sanctioned because they didn't know. Although you go to JP school. But my main question has always been, who polices the police? Okay?
Yeah.
For example, you have Abbott saying, I'm going to send the National Guard to take care of this horrible situation down on the border. Really? Well, what we find out is that 1 or 2 National Guardsmen were caught smuggling aliens.
Yeah. Or drugs.
Or drugs or whatever.
Cash, yeah.
I've represented DPS because, se le fueron las patas. But again,
Right.
it's you hold them to certain standards.
Standards.
And you say, don't do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because you represent law enforcement.
Right.
But too late.
Well, if you talk about the FBI, Herbert Hoover, who started the FBI, began to record.
Oh, you mean J. Edgar?
I'm sorry,
J.
J.
Edgar.
Edgar. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Began to record public officials. Began to use that information
Wiretap.
Martin
against
Luther King.
Martin Luther King,
Yeah.
the Kennedys, and that's how he obtained a lot of the power. He was able to, suddenly you'd get an envelope on your desk with pictures and information.
And I'm afraid this new, Pam Bondi's probably doing the same thing. They have the power.
They do.
And she has the power. I mean, I have never in my career heard of such a horrible conspiracy as this Epstein thing. But yet, there's nothing here. Look the other way.
To be fair,
Nothing happened.
But it's been going on not only through
Years.
this administration, but
2009?
Years.
From his first conviction?
Years.
So,
nothing's ever.
But again, it's like who decides who to prosecute and who not to prosecute.
Right.
So that's what we, the lawyers, are so frustrated about, is that usually you would call in the old days the independent counsel, like ¿cómo se llama?
Starr,
Smith.
Ken Starr,
Jack
Jack Smith.
Jack Smith. And so the first term of this president, he said, William Sessions, what do you mean you asked for a independent counsel? If I'd known that, I was never picked him. So he only, this time around, he only got people that would be loyal to him,
Right.
and not the Constitution.
Right.
And what is the public supposed to think of that?
Well, and that's a good question about what is the public supposed to do? Because again, Javi and I were talking with Joe, right? That word corruption gets tossed around now.
Right.
Just because you're an elected official or you hold a position of authority, you're a superintendent, you're a city council member. Well, no, an unelected official. You're the police chief. You're fire chief. All of a sudden, you're corrupt.
Yeah.
You're on the take. All these things are thrown out there. And I was telling somebody earlier this week that when I was on council, if you wanted to say something really negative about me, you had to print the letter usually and walk it over to the newspaper. And the newspaper would look at it and go, hey, I'm not printing this. Can you
Sounds
prove?
defamatory to me.
Yeah. Can you prove this? Now with the advent of social media and the internet,
They'll say anything.
as crazy as it is, it's a conspiracy theory, it's this, it's that, and it goes out, and before the truth can catch up to it,
And there's nothing
It's
the
too late.
It's too late.
aggrieved party can do about it.
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, it's freedom under the guise of freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want, and
So
people believe you're a public official, and it seems to be that just if you're a public official, that is just one of the attacks that you have to sit back and just take, and you got to smile and
But Joe, what did I say earlier this week when sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? There was a point in time when we used to say that because, truthfully, it meant something. Yeah. The accusation you made had to mean something for me to respond to you. Now, they just throw it and, everybody's a racist, everybody's a Nazi, everybody's a homophobe, a Islamophobe, a conspiracy theorist, all of them are out there. But it's repeated so often with no basis that at some point you just go.
Unfortunately, that causes a lot of people to just never want to run for anything.
Good people.
Good people.
Good people.
Yeah.
Good people. Is it para qué? What for?
Why would I want to put myself out of there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hate to go to keep going to my work, right? But what we're doing now, right, about getting people from ICE.
Sure.
Our local government goes and says, "Oh no, we're worried about homelessness and we're worried about people getting sick."
Right.
Not one of those people that talked went to us and asked us anything. Then you know that these people don't spend more than 3 hours with us.
Right.
They're gone. 100% of these
in
people,
and out.
Right. We work with Dilly. Dilly's not going to send anybody sick. Right.
Right.
So they go and report what's going to make them feel better. There's no more getting both sides anymore. Call us, we'll tell you the truth. Not one reporter has called us and checked on the people doing the work.
Right. Well, David, it's been a pleasure having you.
Likewise.
We started this podcast because we wanted to have good, lively discussions where we agree, disagree, but at the end of the conversation, we'd always walk away saying, we've got to continue this discourse. We've got to continue to have conversations like this, as difficult as it may be. It's the perpetual Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to come back every year and have another conversation about something else, right? But we do appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
We've got one more segment to go. We want you to stay with us for that because we're going to talk about what we call the last bite. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Life is full of great moments, special moments, shared with friends, family, and loved ones. But for some, pain deprives us from fully enjoying these moments. If chronic pain is keeping you from fully enjoying life, there is hope. Hi, I'm Dr. Marta Martinez. At Advanced Spine Pain Solutions, we're dedicated to treating our patients with the most advanced and compassionate care possible. Visit us for an evaluation and let our experienced staff help you get back to living a pain-free life.
So we're back. Segment of our show called The Last Bite. The first two shows, inadvertently, because we had a caller call in and ask us about baked potatoes, David. He wanted to know whether the foil went shiny side in or shiny side out.
It caught on, actually.
And it caught on. So the next week we're talking, and Javi's talking about his neighbor coming over and bringing over these competition sweets that they do with the Alexander culinary class or competition barbecue team that they have.
That's correct.
And so that led to a discussion about good food, good barbecue, and we shouted out some names of some of our favorite restaurants. And so this week, who wants the last bite?
Any good restaurants, David, that you've been to?
That I would recommend?
That you would recommend?
I would say Lolita's.
Lolita's is good.
Lolita's very good.
Where's the best burger you ever had in Laredo?
Burger, usually, depending on what cook it is. Border Foundry.
Border Foundry?
Very good burgers.
Joe, I think you said.
Yeah, I like their chorizo burger. It's very good there at Border Foundry. But last night,
they have some really good burgers.
I went to Louis at La Bistro, the
Right
food
there on
truck.
McPherson, the food truck.
Delicious burger.
Really?
Delicious burger. Yeah.
Louis,
At Louis.
that
Holly?
food truck here on. So I've been I like to eat, and so one of the best places that I have found that I get some of the best food and the best service is briskets and beer.
Oh, yeah.
And they just, they have talk about baked potatoes. They have a really good baked potato with brisket and cheese and sour cream, and it's a very filling, and even though it's packed,
Where is it? What's the address?
briskets and beer. It's right off of Guadalupe, right behind where,
Gonzales Auto Parts, that area?
yeah, there's a
Right next to the car wash.
right next to the car.
I've
Cat-
been there, but I thought they had closed for a while.
Well, they're
They're
open.
still around.
They're still open. They have very good barbecue. The ribs are excellent.
No, they
and
do.
they have very good specials. And
I'm there like 3 times a week.
Is
For
that right?
breakfast.
Now, who makes the best cabrito in Laredo?
Well, I don't know. That's
Carísimo.
I have not had cabrito
Yeah.
in a long time, man.
Ever since Nuevo Laredo.
Ever since Nuevo Laredo.
yeah, the Conde Viejo.
But what I'm trying to find out, and maybe for the next segment, I'm trying to find out who has the best steak. Before COVID,
Steak.
I used to be able to go out to, the restaurants here, Toño's or Border Foundry, and you'd get a nice inch steak,
Yeah.
medium. And I have not been able to find
Really?
anything like. I mean,
How
the
about-
restaurants are still good. I just have not
Right.
been
How
able to
about
find.
the tack room? You tried that lately?
It's been a while, and even there, they've changed their
They
menu.
changed.
They're-
They-
yeah.
Charlie's Corona is always has a good menu there.
I go
And-
there for my T-bones on Wednesday.
Yeah, the T-bones are always good
But
there.
steak, it's hard to find.
They're hard
Yeah.
to find.
That's not an arm and a leg. Border Foundry has them for $90.
Sure. And so
It doesn't Manhattan.
Pretty much. Yeah.
you get a little pricey. Well, for our viewers out there, in your town, what's the best hamburger? Put it in the comments, and we'll maybe if we're in that area, that part of the world, we can stop by and check it out. Or if you guys want to FedEx one overnight, fresh, we'll take that as well. But Laredo, for me, Ringo's is by far the best hamburger, I think. And if you just take their cheeseburger, they have some really unique hamburgers. The Doc Holliday and the Tombstone.
What's the address?
They've got eggs. It's on Highway 359, right there behind Danny's.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
by the side.
they'll put egg, brisket, sausage, bacon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they'll load this thing up. Looks like this, and it's
2,000 calories. Right?
it's called the Tombstone Challenge. If you can eat it in a certain amount of time, they'll put your name up on the Wall of Fame. If you don't, you're on the Wall of Shame.
That's an acid reflux challenge.
But
I guess.
that hamburger's great. But in San Antonio, the last time I was there with my son, he said, "Hey, stop at Burger Boys on your way out."
Oh, yeah.
And I went to Burger Boys, and my goodness, I mean, Whataburger, In-N-Out, got nothing on Burger Boys. Excellent hamburger. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And steaks these days, gosh, because of the price of beef, they're so thin now. They only have one side. I mean, we can't get a good steak these days.
I had to buy them and cook them myself. If I wanted
Oh, yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. But back in the day, you'd find them at any of the nicer restaurants. You'd find really good steaks, and so I just haven't found one.
What, they've
anymore.
gone up in price.
Exactly.
Yeah. The price of
Exactly.
beef has gone through the roof.
And so, talking about that, I'm in the process of getting into the life fair because I want to be a buyer and I want to buy a steer.
Yeah.
And that's one of my deals is
Get it
buy
processed.
and get it processed.
Good idea.
And
Yeah.
Now you have beef. You have beef
time.
for a long time. So
Yeah, I think you can drive the cost of the average price per pound to about $8 per pound. I mean, it's for everything, but I mean, think about it. You're getting a sirloin, a ribeye, a strip for $8 a pound.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't find that anywhere. Yeah.
everything. So
Well, again, thank you, Counselor, for
you.
coming on. We've had a lot of fun. I know we've got a couple other topics we'd like to have you come back on
I will.
down in the
Invite me
future.
anytime.
Absolutely, I'd love to. And again, the reason we started this show is that we could have folks from diverse backgrounds. I voted for Trump 3 times and twice on Sunday, and David, did not. But we have great
You guessed?
discussion. Yeah, I just guessed. I deduced from the conversation. But we've always had great debates amongst each other, and then always respectful. And that's what's been missing in the decorum, in the discussions these days. And so we're hoping
corrupt.
that they'll come back. Yeah, he's corrupt. But we're hoping that you tune in, be part of the show, engage with us. This is our last pre-recorded show. So the next show you see, it'll be live. There'll be a call-in number at the bottom. There'll be an email number to email your questions or topics you want to talk about. And social media, you'll be able to chime in on social media, and we'll answer your questions if you've got a good one. All right. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
and from 3 Men and a Mic, Joe, Javi, Gene, we'll see you soon.
You have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.